Welcome to Eli's Natural Eating Classes, brought to you by Legacy Acres Farm and CSA. We now tune in to hear Eli.
Tonight we're going to do dairy. And I do have to tell you, for those, which I think we only have two at this point, well, normally Emma's here, but for Anita and Nancy, who have done my courses before, starting next week we are traveling into the unknown. This is the last major food group, so for the month of March I'm going to talk vitamins and minerals, I'm going to talk spices. The good news of it is I'm about to tell you guys to eat all kinds of fat. All the stuff that we've been told for years to stop eating, I'm about to tell y'all you can eat. Now, the bad news of it is I'm also going to step into an area of controversy, and I'm going to give you my opinion, and you folks do with it what you will. To start with today, we are going to talk about pasteurized milk, and I'm going to talk about why it ain't good for you. Well, it's a very controversial thing. I mean, even like those of us who watch have watched the series Rotten, they kind of came down on both sides of the fence with it, and it is. But here's the thing about pasteurized milk. Here's the history lesson behind it. In the 1800s, of course, Louis Pasteur created the idea of pasteurization to begin with. Well, in the 1900s, people started getting sick from the milk. So science came up with the brilliant idea, we'll pasteurize it. And what they do is they cook it. That's what pasteurization is they actually cook the milk. You cook the milk to at least 120 degrees. Usually it's around 160 for regular pasteurized milk. And what they're doing is they literally kill the bacteria in the milk. Unfortunately, for those of us who understand the digestive system and the way the body works, that ain't a good thing. But they were convinced that this is the way to keep people from getting sick from the milk. And there was some truth to it, because you got to remember too, though, during the 1900s, we weren't exactly the cleanest country in America, in the world. Well, actually, we had a lot of unhealthy health practices going on. We had a lot of those kinds of things going on. And one of the things, there's one story that goes around that they talk about. There was a city that everybody got sick. And they finally determined that the common thing that everybody that got sick had in common was this one milkman. Of course, like I said, this is back in the day when we actually had milkmen. They came, they delivered all your glass bottles in that little tray carrying thing. Well, they determined that it was all one milkman. And they determined that this is what everybody was making you sick, that he had gotten sick cows, so on and so forth. And it was a push for pasteurization. We'll cook the milk, nobody will get sick from it anymore. We're good to go. What they didn't tell you is this milkman who was making everybody sick, his cows were pastured cows who happened to be downstream from one of the new industrial factories that were popping up everywhere during that time period. So what was happening? The cow was eating the stuff that was coming off of these factories, and it was making them sick. And that's part of the problem with industrialization. With pasteurized milk, they've said to us, pasteurized is better than raw. Pasteurized is better than raw. It's healthier for us. Well, part of it's going to come back to the same argument we've had all the entire class. It depends where you get your source from. You couldn't pay me to drink raw milk that came from a food lot cow. Remember last week we talked about the food lots? I mean, if they're standing in, their crud and everything, you can't pay me to drink that. But there's a big difference between a cow who's being treated humanely, who's going out and doing his thing and eating pasture, and the farmer's making sure that the grass is all the good stuff, and he's got the clover and whatever else it is that they need for their vitamins and minerals. And they're doing things like they're making sure when they bring the cow in, they're cleaning their udders. And a lot of times, that's what they do. That's what that wonderful brown betadine thing, even around here, when they hook them up to the machines, Tristan spent 6 months working for a farmer. They dip them in bait, it cleans the udder. Now, there are all more natural ways to do that, but the point of it is that's what you do. You make sure you clean them. Some of them even do as far as issues with pasteurized milk. Number one, it is known to cause health problems. They have linked pasteurization of the milk to known problems. Because unfortunately, pasteurizing milk turns it into a highly processed food. It is no different than the yellow corn oil and all the other things that we've been talking about. It does not contain any of the good bacteria. I mean, that's part of what they do. That's what they're doing, is they're killing the bacteria in it. It doesn't have any enzymes. It doesn't have any of the fat that we all need, or the raw fat. It does have fat. It doesn't have the raw fat now because it's been cooked. And it doesn't have, and you're going to see this three-letter word a lot, it doesn't have, and it's a really long chemical that they call CLA. CLA has been directly linked with helping prevent and fight cancer.
CLA is good.
CLA is good. It's not in pasteurized milk. Here's an interesting one. Lactose intolerance is actually due to the fact we process the milk. Lactose intolerance is not, an allergy to casein is when you're actually allergic to the chemicals in the actual milk, the enzymes in the milk and the fat in the milk. Lactose intolerance, you're not allergic to the milk. What's happening is they say you're allergic to the milk, the sugar in the milk, but if you study it, there's actual proof that says it's actually the chemicals that they use to process the milk, which is not agreeing with some people in what they call lactose intolerance. Because that's all they're saying is, it's not an actual allergy. They're saying your body doesn't like the sugar in milk. So you're supposed to drink sugar-free milk or fat-free milk. Well, it's not actually the lactose that you're bothering. It's the chemicals that they don't want to tell us about.
How come it's become so prevalent in the last 10, 20 years?
Because of the fact of what we're doing. Everything has become more prevalent in the last 10 to 20 years because we have ran industrialization through the ceiling. It's the same reason why people ask, why is gluten sensitivity such a big thing? There is science that proves it's not the gluten that's bothering us, it's what they do to the wheat, and it's the chemical in the Roundup that they spray on the wheat they're actually calling it an allergy to that, not to gluten. And there's science behind it. They're saying the same thing about lactose. Now, casein's a little different. You can actually have a casein allergy. Which is one of the enzymes in milk. And while drinking raw milk, a lot of people who are lactose intolerant can drink raw milk. Most who have a casein allergy still can't drink it. Here's an interesting fact that Nancy just brought up. We've lived on milk for hundreds of years. We've been on milk since as long as they figured out how to get out of a cow. And now, and as Nancy just said, it's only been in the last less than 50 years that all of a sudden milk's become such a bad thing. What's changed? Cows are still the same. What's changing is what we're doing to them. What's changing is what we're doing to the milk itself. That is what's changing. And I will say this, when I just made the statement the cows are the same, they've actually changed the cows. Because it used to be that Jerseys and a few others, Jerseys were our main milk cow. Well, we're now milking, I believe it's Holsteins. Here's an interesting one. Pasteurization causes the body to be unable to break down calcium. All of those of us who are chugging that milk because we need the calcium for our bones, it's coming in and going out. Can't break it down. It makes it to where the body can't break it down. It makes it unrecognizable. The body doesn't have the ability to do what it needs to do to break it down. And here's another interesting fact, completely off the sidetrack, but there's actual belief that I was reading, I think it was Dr. Mercola was saying that he was quoting another doctor who stated that there is scientific proof that the reason us becoming so calcium heavy, gotta have calcium to prevent all these bone issues, we are becoming so calcium heavy and ignoring all the other minerals, and it's actually leading to the amounts of osteoporosis that we are currently dealing with. Because bone is made up of more than just calcium, but we're pushing calcium and we're forgetting everything else. Another thing, pasteurization destroys the vitamin C in milk. It encourages the growth of bad bacteria. It's the same thing that happens in milk that happens in your stomach. It's the antibiotic problem. which is part of what causes the problem. Part of the reason why antibiotics are causing such an issue and causing all these gut issues is because antibiotics kill everything. An antibiotic can't tell good bacteria from bad bacteria, it's just all bacteria. And it comes in and it just annihilates the entire city. Well, unfortunately, when it comes to bacteria, when you wipe out the city, the first thing that comes back is the weeds. It's kind of like when you wipe out a field, the first thing you get back is the crabgrass, because it's the stronger ability. It's coming in, and you wiped everything out, so the good stuff isn't there to control the bad stuff. And you end up with, like in the gut, you end up with a bacterial overgrowth, or the SBIO, which is bacterial overgrowth. Well, the same thing happens in the same thing happens with the milk. Because we've killed everything in it, when we take it in, it's wiping everything out. And what's happened, the milk, there's no good bacteria in it. We have annihilated the village. So now what you have left is empty space. And what happens in the cow's digestive system, and the cow's milk producing areas, brings back the bad bacteria. And it actually helps host the bad bacteria in your body. Here's an interesting one that most of us know. RBGH or RBST is the bottom line.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to read. What
the RBGH or RBST, it's the growth hormone, which, for those of you who don't know, is made by Monsanto. Thank you. Yes, they actually make the growth hormone. And while the packages of milk nicely say to you there is no RSBT used on this cow, so whatever science does not indicate that RSBT makes any differences, blah, 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 there's evidence that shows it's linked to cancer.
So what do you feed your kids?
What do I feed my kids? We drink raw milk. We'll say this, and before I get into raw milk, I do want to take a step back here. There are different levels of pasteurization. I know there is a little store called Roots in Ashland. It's a real little store. They sell lightly pasteurized milk, which is the stuff that they cook to about 120 degrees, which is way better than what you're buying at the store. They are, but you're going to pay for it. I believe it's like $8 for a half gallon of milk.
Jeez, oh Pete, who in the world?
That's what you're going to pay, but you have to stop. But you have to stop and look at what you're getting. When you buy a good source, you got to pay for, but you got to look at what you're getting here. Because the thing of it is yes, we're buying milk for $2 a gallon right now. We're actually putting the milk industry out of business. My son's farmer, he went out of business this year because he can't afford to keep his cows up.
Right.
He's losing $100 a day on what we are paying for milk, and he's an industrial farmer. He was losing $100 a day. So big building, 50 cows, all of it's gone. And he's on the verge of filing bankruptcy because we want our milk so cheap. Now you have to look at it. It's just milk, whether you're talking milk, whether you're talking meat, whether you're talking eggs, fruit, whatever you're talking about, you have to realize that we're not talking about an industrialized process where it's one person out there, or it's, one person's out there doing the work, or in my case, it was the guy and my son, but they were hooking up machines. Boom, 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 boom. And the job's done. Now we wait 20 minutes for the cows to come down, we boom, 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 we pop them on with their good stuff, and they're out the door. You're talking about people who are sitting down with a milk bucket.
Yep.
Jamie hand milks her goats every single morning.
Yeah.
She's sitting down with a milk bucket, and she's taking that half hour, 45 minutes to milk that coat. The same thing with the chickens. Jamie and I are out there taking care of the water. We're out there.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, I know. The same thing when we're raising chickens. We're doing the feed. We're the ones running out there doing that. Jamie right now, and I right now in the winter, we're out there 3 or 4 times a day breaking ice.
Yeah.
Because our animals have to have water.
Yeah.
Or we're investing in the highly expensive $25 for a 1 gallon pitcher things that you plug in, and then I'm paying the electric bill.
Yeah.
And even in our vegetables, our vegetables are more expensive. The way we're talking about it is more expensive because we're putting quality into it.
Yeah.
It's not a guy who's hiring 50 nobodies who are doing whatever they want, and they're going out there and working the field. It's me and my 4 kids out there every single day pulling weeds, planting seeds, picking vegetables so that you guys can have the vegetables. Or in Jamie's case, her and her 5, 6. How many of you are 6?
6 kids.
Yes, her and her 6 kids are out there every day on their knees picking those vegetables. And we're battling the weeds and the bugs and everything else because we don't want to spray them with Roundup.
Right.
So we're out there every single day pulling weeds, sometimes more than one time a day. You know, these are the things that you have to stop thinking about. It's just like when you buy, if I go to Walmart and I buy a shirt, I'm going to buy that shirt for $5. Why? Because it's made in some factory somewhere where somebody's pushed a button. And it's done. If I go to Miss Anita and buy that same shirt, I may spend $15 on that shirt, but that's because Anita has sat down at her sewing machine with the material. Not only has she paid for the material, but she's put, what, 7, 8 hours into my shirt? You're better than that, so I know you're faster. But that's what you have to look at. Yeah. So it's the same way as you wouldn't expect to pay $5 for a handmade shirt or a handmade quilt. Food is the same way. And this is where the society has gotten us so sideways because we want it cheap and we want it fast. Here's the other problem. We talked about the fact that you can go in the good line and go to lightly pasteurized. Then you have pasteurized. How many have seen the word ultra pasteurized on their milk product? Okay, pasteurized milk is cooked to about 160 degrees. That's what pasteurized milk is.
That's crazy.
Ultra pasteurized milk is cooked to 288 degrees. Okay, 288 degrees.
Jeez.
That milk is sterile.
Yeah.
Literally, there ain't nothing left in it. It's sterile. Now, the question of it is, why do they do it? Because at 288 degrees, I can leave milk sitting on a shelf for up to 90 days.
Oh,
And it will not sour.
wow.
That is why, and I hate to tell you this, but you could probably go longer. John has an aunt who lives in England. You can buy milk off the shelf. Not in the refrigerated section, off the shelf. Let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk raw milk. It's loaded with healthy bacteria. It's high in omega-3s and actually lower in your omega-6s. Remember when we talked fast, we talked about the fact that part of the problem is that we've got the omega-3, the omega-6 thing going this way, and we actually need it going this way. Milk has it going this way. It has more than 60 digestive enzymes in it. Anybody want to talk about the leaky gut syndrome?
No.
And the reason, then the fact that we've stopped drinking raw milk? Contains vitamins A, B, C, D, E, and K. It has calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and iron. It actually has healthy cholesterol in it, ladies. It has been tested. There is high amounts of HDL, the good stuff, in raw milk. It has raw fats, amino acids, and proteins. And it has phosphates that aid in calcium absorption. So where pasteurization is causing the calcium to come in and go out because it's breaking it down in a way the body can't recognize it, raw milk, not only can the body recognize calcium, it has phosphates in it, which helps the body break down the calcium.
Well, what if you don't drink milk at all?
Okay,
So you drink almond milk and coconut milk.
Almond milk and coconut milk, that is an interesting case. For those who,
But there's almond flour.
Right, here's the thing, here's the issue. If I'm not going to drink milk, the best healthy choice is your nut milks, your almond milk, your cashew milk, any of those milks. Much better than even the rice milk, because rice is a GMO product. And it's also a carb. However, here's the thing. I just read an article on it. You know, milk's going down. Part of the reason why milk's going down is because we're drinking so much almond milk. They're saying it's healthier for you. And while almond milk has proteins, all of these things that I just rattled off, you're not getting it because there is no fat in almond milk.
But you're not getting it off the store shelf either.
But to a degree you are. It's better. Now, organic pasteurized milk, in our case, if you're not buying it raw, is a good choice. Almond milk, if you can't drink it that way, is a good choice, because while you're not getting all of these vitamins, you are getting fat out of pasteurized milk. You're not getting raw fat, but you are getting fat. There's still the fat and the sugar in it. So you are getting those things out of it. You're not getting those things out of the almond milk.
What about your coconut milk?
Coconut milk is the same way because it's not going to give you the problem of it. It's going to give you more fat than almond milk because of the fats in the coconut oil. Depends how they take it out. I have seen good and bad. It all depends on how it's processed. Because sometimes when they wring it out, the stuff you don't get as much. Coconut oil is made through a different process than the coconut milk.
What about powdered milk?
Powdered milk is
Rancid.
rancid to begin with. Powdered milk is completely rancid. Yeah, we don't, and this is the other problem too that I'll tell you ladies, they stop doing it or they deny they do it now. I won't say they stop, they deny it. They cut our milk with powder. Used to be way back when my grandmother was younger, you know, you went up to the milk vat and the milk would sit and then you have all the fat rises to the top and that's your cream, which I'm a huge advocate of cream. Everybody in here needs to be drinking cream, using cream every day.
You'd turn into a balloon.
No, you wouldn't. Wait till we get there. Wait till we get there. The cream rises, and then basically you go down a little bit farther in the vat, and you would have what we all consider our 2% milk. Then you go down a little bit farther in the vat to the very bottom, and you would have what we all consider skim milk.
Right.
They ain't got time to do that anymore. So what do? They cut it with powdered milk. Now, like I said, they claim they have stopped that process, but up till a few years ago, that's exactly how they did it. Until the fact that powdered milk is so rancid and so bad for you, they were cutting it with powdered milk. Back to almond milk before I change my page. Here is where I'm at with the almond milk. If you cannot drink milk, drink almond milk. If you can drink milk, you need the fat. Raw milk is the very best choice. Organic is the second best choice. Because it does eliminate a lot of the chemicals that are used in it. You're still dealing with the pasteurization, and that is a problem with it that we're dealing with. However, here is my side of the argument. A lot of people are saying we shouldn't drink milk because of what we're doing to our cows. And I can agree with that. There are farms out there that those cows stand on concrete hooked to machines. But if anybody has seen Rotten or any of the other shows on bees, what we're doing to the almond milk, we're doing the same cruelty to bees. Because the movie Rotten or any of the others, there are fields and fields and fields and fields and fields of almond trees in California. So what they're doing is all of those almond trees have to be pollinated. Because almonds produce flowers, and they're just like any other fruit tree. You have to pollinate the flower to get the nut. So what's happening is beekeepers are taking their bees and they're turning them into pollinators. They're taking them in next month, in March, they're going to haul all these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of bees out to California, and they're going to let them loose into the almond field. They're not going to let them actually go through the process of making honey. All they're going to let them do is pollinate. They're going to pollinate the trees, they're going to bring them back, they're going to spray them, they're going to give them sugar water, and they're going to keep them for completing their process. Because they got to go out the next day and do it again. They got to go out the next day and do it again. So they're not letting the bees make honey. They're not letting the bees complete the process. They're turning them into workhorses.
Yeah.
And then they're bringing them back and expecting them to pick up in April and do what they normally do.
They're wore out.
And
Well,
disease
a
by
worker bee only lives
all the other ones.
like
Right.
6 weeks. They
But-
don't live very long.
But the
anyway.
problem of it is right, so if I'm only going to live 6 weeks, am I going to spend that 6 weeks, I'm going to spend that 6 weeks pollinating all the almonds, what's going to be left to actually do my job and make the honey I'm supposed to make? And you wonder why. There is talk out there as to, is the almond fields part of the reason why we can't keep bees going? They are saying that the bees are, the stuff that we spray on our yards and on our flowers is what's killing the bees. They know that. What they're asking is this a contributing factor?
Oh, okay, to the mass.
Right.
Okay.
Is there reasons why? I mean, they've always lost bees. Another argument I will tell you guys. There's an argument out here that says we were not meant to drink cow's milk. We were all meant to drink milk. God gave every single mother on this planet the ability to feed their children milk.
Till they
No.
could eat meat.
Right. But milk is still part of the diet. It was part of the beginning diet.
Well,
It was
the
the-
Bible talks about milk and honey.
Yes. So, because there's a lot of people that say, you know, are we supplementing? Yes. But I still believe that's part of the plan.
So-
Whole fat dairy. When you're drinking milk, please drink whole fat. There is no scientific data linking low fat dairy products and weight loss, ladies. You are not getting yourself any closer into those skinny jeans by drinking the things that say low fat.
It's actually higher in sugar if you read the label.
And that is true of milk. That is true of any form of dairy, whether you're drinking cottage cheese, whether you're eating cottage cheese, sour cream, whatever. If it's a dairy product, you need the fat. Low fat milk makes your full fat. Low fat milk makes you fat. Full fat milk doesn't. That's a tongue twister. I can't even say it once, Nancy.
I had to read it about 3 times.
Here's a good one for some of us. Butter fat found in whole milk supports thyroid function and helps the body make muscle. So there again, I'm gonna ask the question. We've all gone to low fat or no milk, and thyroid dysfunction's on the rise. Research shows eating 8 servings of dairy a day reduces the risk of diabetes by 25% because you need the fat. And now granted, I said 8
eat that
servings.
though, but I still don't buy butter.
No, and it's got to be full fat. Like I said, it helps. It's not going to cure it. It's a help. So 25%. An 8-ounce glass of milk.
How many pats of butter?
How many pats of butter?
2, isn't it?
1 thumb. For a woman, it's
For a
1
woman,
thumb.
it's
From the
Okay, so
one
there's
thumb,
another
1
serving.
thumb, right? 1 thumb of fat in a meal for a woman. Some say it's a tablespoon or an inch, which is the first knuckle. Other people do say go the full. For men, it's 2 thumbs.
Okay, so that makes 2 servings, and then you still need 6 more servings.
But stop and think about it. Okay, if I have cereal in my mouth, or
That too.
That works.
Right after you milk the chicken.
Upside down bowl of cereal, we'll take it.
well, you know,
I'm gonna have a blooper
if
reel.
I have milk in my cereal, there's at least 1 serving. Now, if I have a glass of milk at lunch, and I put cheese on my sandwich, there's 2 more servings, so now I'm up to 3. Now, if I put a glass of milk with dinner, now I'm up to 4. Now, and everybody who did their vegetable lesson last week is eating those 5 to 8 servings of vegetables. So let's say
No,
in my
right.
family, I do 2 vegetables at night. So now I put a tablespoon of butter per package of vegetables. So now I'm up to 2 more, so now I'm up to 6. Now I'm gonna have my yogurt smoothie at night, now I'm up to 7. I'm only missing 1.
It's a small smoothie.
Well, I make one, yeah. If you do a serving
8
of a
ounce.
smoothie, yeah. You do a serving of a smoothie, but yeah, so there's your 8. Okay, so I'm missing 1.
Yes.
Well, I have a snack between breakfast and lunch. If I have a piece of cheese, there's my 8.
Yeah.
And I didn't really break a sweat. Right, when I say dairy, I'm not just talking milk, ladies. I'm not talking you have to drink 8 cups of milk a day. I'm talking dairy. If you put sour cream on a mashed potato, that's a serving of dairy, or on a baked potato.
Cheese
Or cheese on your baked potato. If you eat cottage cheese, as long as it's full fat, that's a serving. So there's another way. When I have my sandwich, I have my glass of milk, I put a piece of cheese on my sandwich, and I have some cottage cheese on the side. There's my 8 servings. Or cottage cheese for my snack. So it's not really as difficult as it sounds. When you hear 8 servings, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. But now that you break it down into how you eat, and you see that there's many ways to get your servings of dairy.
So it would be healthier to make your oatmeal in the morning with milk instead of water?
Yes, ma'am.
and a lot of butter.
There you go. Now you put 2 in. Okay.
Slam it up.
Here's another one of those things.
She'd get on the scale and say, what happened? I can't lose any more weight.
Full fat dairy is 50 to 60% saturated fat. And remember, saturated fat, contrary to scientific belief, is the good stuff. It's the unsaturated fat that isn't, and the trans fat. So 50 to 60% of full fat dairy is the good stuff. This is a really, really hard one. I can't even say it. Palmitoleic acid, which is found in full fat dairy, actually helps protect against insulin resistance, which is the cause of type 2 diabetes. And it reduces the risk of cancer, heart disease, and helps reduce weight gain.
Well, I was told that you got a fatty pancreas, that's why you're diabetic.
No, ma'am, not type 2. Type 2 is actually an autoimmune disorder that's caused by inflammation. I said a few weeks ago, genetics loads the gun, but it's lifestyle and nutrition that pulls the trigger.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, now we're going to talk butter. Butter. I love butter.
All the bean.
Okay, are you ready for this one, Nancy? Here you go, honey. I'm about to bless your day. Fat levels in blood are lower after eating a meal rich in butter than any other form of oil. They've tested it. They have had people eat and we're talking a butter-rich meal. We're talking butter on the potato, butter on the vegetables, butter on the bread.
Is the fat coming from the dairy part of the
Yes.
milk though?
Yes.
So when you buy your butter, how do you know you're not getting ultra-pasteurized butter? It has to be pasteurized.
It has to be pasteurized. And yes, sometimes it's ultra-pasteurized, but you got to remember pasteurization does not take out the fat. It takes out the form of raw fat, but there is still fat. And no matter what form of milk you buy, you're still going to get fat.
Okay.
20% of butter fat is used right away for energy and is not stored. What does that mean? That means when you eat butter, unlike your other fats, your body is not saying, what do I do to this? It burns it like carbs. Although butter, unlike carbs, does not affect your insulin level. So it's a great source of energy because your body burns through at least 20% of it just like that. Okay, and then the second list is all the vitamins that are in butter. Vitamin A, lauric acid, lectin, antioxidants, vitamin E, vitamin K2, which is a hard one to find. A hormone that prevents arthritis. I couldn't even type the actual name of it. Fatty acids, there's that CLA again. Vitamin D, selenium, manganese, chromium, zinc, copper, iodine, cholesterol, good cholesterol, vitamin called AA, and glycophospholipids. Cheese. Now here's the thing about cheese. This is the fun one. Number one, full fat cheese. Natural cheese. When I speak cheese, let me be clear, ladies. Velveeta is not a cheese. Cheese Whiz is not a cheese.
White, isn't it? All white cheese. That's
Well, actually it can be
natural.
colored. I prefer Colby. But the difference of it is when I'm talking cheese, I'm talking the stuff you get in a block.
Even the American cheese slices.
Even the
I don't
American
think
cheese.
that's not cheese.
Well,
To me.
American cheese it's actually white cheese that's colored. That's what American cheese is.
Is it? I
Yes.
mean, I don't
I thought
buy
that's
it, but
all Colby and all
But-
that was too.
Well, all cheese is colored. What you do with all cheese, when you make cheese, it's all white.
Right.
What you do to cheese is you make it hard and then you add coloring.
Right.
Now the difference of it is in like Colby cheese, it's a natural colorant. It's
Oh.
amaretto, however you say that word. There's a word for it. Those are the ones you want. When I say don't eat cheese, I'm okay with like Land O'Lakes American cheese slices. That one I'm okay with. Colby, Monterey Jack, all of those. Where you check. Velveeta, whether you buy it in a block or whether you buy it in a slice, is not cheese. Borders is not cheese. When you go through Walmart and you walk by the cheese blocks and then you come to those things that are all nice and sliced and covered in plastic, those ain't cheese.
Most of them say processed American cheese
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
Product.
Cheese food or cheese product. yeah.
Right, that's not cheese. That's not what I'm giving you all permission to eat. Talking about cheese. Here's the thing about cheese though I'm going to say, and Jamie already hinted about it. Don't buy shredded cheese. What they say is true. Here's the question. When you buy a block of cheese and you shred it, and believe me, it takes seconds, and I have no problem with my family. My husband will take a 2-pound block and shreds it all at once, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and then I have shredded cheese.
What's he shred it with?
He's got a hand shredder that he uses.
Just one of those things with the handle on the top?
Yeah.
That's what I use.
Yeah,
8 people in our family.
yeah.
I have a thing that shreds things.
Well, you can do that too. There are people who break it into chunks and they put it through the food processor too. If you put the shredder on your food processor, you can do it quicker. Now, here's the reason why. You ever shred, those of you who have shredded your own block of cheese, you ever notice how it clumps together? That's what it's supposed to do. The research behind it and the scuttlebutt that went through about 6 months ago is very true. They coat shredded cheese in cellulose, which is tree sap. And by coating it in cellulose, it keeps it from sticking. It is also the reason why her bag of shredded cheese is going to outlast your homemade bag of shredded cheese. Because the cellulose acts as a preservative, on top of a few other chemicals that they haven't let out of the bag yet. But the biggest one that they have is they coat the cheese in tree sap. It is, if you pull bark off of a tree that's nice and fresh and green and you get all that stringy stuff, not maple sugar, but the actual stringy stuff, yeah, that's what you're eating in your cheese. It's also the stuff they make insulation out of. The pink insulation that we probably have over our heads
Fiberglass?
has cellulose in it. Okay, so, and here's one. Somebody mentioned the liver. Eating cheese actually helps prevent fatty liver. Now here's the thing why I like the first verse about this. Cheese fell under the gun, and it did. It fell under the gun hard. Part of the reason is because it is a really high form of milk fat, because not only is it the cream on the top, but you strain it and do all those things. The problem of it is, what they did is what scientists like to do. They like to put things under the microscope. So we're going to take the cheese and we're going to take all the things that make up the cheese and we're going to stick each individual item under the microscope. And then we're going to say items A, B, C, and D are bad for you. And they could be true. But I don't eat cheese as individual ingredients.
Right, all together.
I eat it as one product.
Right.
And when you have it as one product in its natural form, the body knows what to do with it.
Right.
So the cheese as a whole is actually proven good for you, even though there might be a few individual compounds, like it might be too high in cholesterol or one of those things. Well, yeah, but it's a whole compound. Now, if I was going to individually eat the HDL cholesterol in the cheese, that might cause me issues. But that's not how I consume cheese. I consume cheese as a natural product, in its natural form, whole. Cheese also does have lower sugar in it than milk. For those of you who are worried about the sugar content, so a lot of people who are lactose intolerant can't eat cheese. They tell you you can, but there are a lot of people who find they can eat cheese even though they're lactose intolerant because there's less sugar in cheese than there is in the milk. Yogurt has high amounts of beneficial bacteria. We all have heard all of the hype about the live cultures. Now, having said that, here's where I have to ruin everybody's parade. I did last time, I'm going to do it again. But here's the problem.
Wait though.
Commercial yogurt is high in sugar, and the sugar is high fructose corn syrup. And another thing I'm going to tell you ladies, and I meant to mention this last week, a lot of the times the strawberries in the yogurt aren't real strawberries. I meant to mention this last week. Watch, when we were talking about fruits and vegetables, watch, because a lot of the products, the processed products that they add fruit to, it ain't fruit. If it is fruit, it's not the kind you think you're getting. Like, I think it was Special K did they added strawberries to their cereal. They weren't strawberries. They were painted dried apples. Color dyed red. Interesting thing for you. Flip over the product. You'd be amazed how many have fruit on the picture, and there is no fruit listed in the ingredients. Blueberry muffins. I like our blueberry muffins.
Oh, most of them are just sugar.
No. The product that they use to make the blueberries and blueberry muffins is the exact same stuff that you put in an RV to winterize it.
Oh, gross. The worst. That's why I always bought the ones that had real cans, you know?
Besides that, artificial colors, flavors, and additives. which the additives in it actually kill the good bacteria. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're eating yogurt in order to get the good bacteria that your gut needs, but it's got additives in it that actually kill the bacteria.
Is there any good yogurt?
There is, I actually make yogurt for one thing, but the ones that I buy Dannon. It is not vanilla, it's the all natural. It comes in you buy it in the tub, it's like the $3 size tubs, and it's the one that's blue and it's got the little red farm on it.
Why don't you like the vanilla?
Because of the fact that it's an extra, I don't buy the vanilla,
Because it's probably an artificial flavor.
it's an artificial flavor. Yeah.
Not real vanilla.
Delicious. Yeah, huh?
Not real vanilla.
I don't think so. I have, some of them, I don't think Dannon does. Some of them do use real vanilla, but it'd be one of those things that I would suggest if you're eating vanilla, flip it over and make sure it says vanilla, ending in an A and not the N, because the N is the fake kind, vanilla. If you buy an all-natural jelly, you can mix your all-natural jelly into your plain yogurt and do just about the same thing as what a Yoplait would be, because that's what it actually is. It's a form of jelly usually that you. Okay, here's another problem with yogurt, and this is one of those things, ladies, we just can't avoid if you're eating processed yogurt. It's double heated due to pasteurization, because you cook the milk and then you cook the yogurt, because you have to cook yogurt in order to make yogurt. And unless you're making your own yogurt, that's a step you can't avoid.
I like the Greek yogurt.
Different, and a lot of people do. We had that debate last time. The only difference between the Greek yogurt and you can still buy whole good Greek yogurt. The difference of it is they strain it, so it's thicker.
Once I started eating that, I could never eat regular yogurt.
And see, I can't stand Greek yogurt.
It's got so much more proteins in it.
Yeah, it does.
It does,
but
and
it's
my
so
nails,
thick.
when I started eating the Greek yogurt, I noticed that my nails grew so much better.
Because you strained all the extra stuff off. Now here's the other thing too, and this is one of those take with a grain of salt things. There are no guidelines for what live and active cultures means. There's no benchmark, there's nothing like that the USDA or the FDA says you have to have so many active cultures to a tablespoon of yogurt to be able to label it active. There's no guideline. So you could be getting a teaspoon of active cultures.
We hope you've enjoyed today's class. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to be sure to see future episodes. Thank you again and have a great day.